Welcome to Deep Thought, removing the dysfunctional layers. Now, I said the battle is within, but see, here's the thing with every single person. Every single person, I don't care how far you think you are, you're dealing with something. Because going through life, there are 5 general traumas that happen, and as a result of those traumas, we develop what could be called counterfeit personas, because the personas are defense mechanisms to certain traumas. And people might get 1 or maybe 2 of the traumas. Very few people are going to get all of them, and some people one just predominates. Like one trauma is for a child who's born into the world, and that child doesn't feel the love from its mother. That's a very powerful one. Or the mother didn't want the child. Like a child is aware of its surroundings, even in the womb. They can hear everything. They may not understand the words and everything, but they can get the feelings. They know. If the mother's not singing lovingly to the child feels it. Or the mother has a feeling of, I don't want this baby, but keeping it anyway. That child feels it. That's one trauma. And then there's another trauma where someone is abandoned, like a child's abandoned, like they need to feel fulfilled, like the mother might not have breastfed enough or held it enough, and they ain't get through that oral stage good. And then there's a third trauma where a child, as they get older, where a child, might feel like they're in a battle between their parents, and they might feel like in order to obtain love, they have to exercise some control. They develop control issues. And, the first 2 specifically had to do with the mother, but the second one could be mother or father. With the women, it's the father. With the men, it's the mother. They feel like in order to get what they want, they have to control it, manipulate, or something like that. And then there's a trauma when parents exercise like ultimate control over their child, like try to control everything, even to the point of how they go to the bathroom. And that's a very significant thing. And then a fifth one is subconscious rejection by the opposite sex parent, right? And this is very general. Trust me, I can go deeper. I could do like whole seminars. I could do a whole class on all of those, each one of those things. That's how deep it is. And some people who are familiar with the information know what I'm talking about, but I wanted to give something very deeply. And the fact of the matter is all of us got something. Every single one of us got something. It's just a matter to what degree we got something, right? Those are not who we are truly. Those are reactions to the environment, defense mechanism. Like, how we do something, it might be a coping thing, but then we think it's normal, We might cope with a situation like in situations where someone has some trust issues, they might cope by closing their heart. But that's a dysfunctional thing. Our hearts are supposed to be open. Or, someone else might cope, like if it's an abandonment thing, by clinging to someone in a relationship. They might cling to someone in a relationship, and and that's a cope. They because they're afraid of being abandoned, so they'll do whatever. They'll stay in a relationship with a bad person, and there's so many things. And then some of them could be combined. You could have a combination of 2 of them, right? And then there's other stuff, and then we live in a culture where it has us putting on masks anyway. Because the culture says this is how you're supposed to behave. This is how you're supposed to do. And we do it. So that adds even more to it. There's a ton of stuff. You're supposed to behave according to your class structure and everything, according to your religion, where you're going to school, neighborhood you live in, whole bunch of stuff. And a lot of it Some cases it could add something good, you know. Some cases it could be useful, but a lot of times there's some dysfunctional stuff. That's the battle you got to fight. You got to remove it because a lot of times in this dysfunction, that's why a lot of relationships don't work. Why? A lot because two people they not relating to each other's true self. They relating to the mask. They relating to the defense mechanism. But that's not the true thing. The thing they need to relate to is the true person. Or you could be just going in life. Understand something. To succeed in life, it involves relationships. It involves relationships. Some people want to try to insulate themselves, but you still got to deal with people. Unless, even if you want to sit in your house, work from home, and have people deliver food, that's still a relationship. You know. But sometimes we get so caught up, we can't move. Like those dysfunctional layers, it actually keeps a lot of people. Despite all the talk about the days out there, what I was saying in the last thing, it's those layers. It's within you. It's what's keeping you from unfolding into what your best self is. That's the thing. So you got to remove those things. So how do you do that? Well, first thing, you have to be honest with yourself. Like I said, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. It's tough. As best as possible, try to be honest with yourself and say, well, what's keeping me back? And now, if, let's say, hypothetically, now that could still be tough. Trust me. Depending on some people can see themselves perfectly. Some people can see themselves, but they lie to themselves. And some people, depending on the situation, personality structures and everything, they can't see themselves at all. They don't know. So if you can't do it yourself, find someone whose word you trust. And I'm gonna be honest, that's difficult as heck. Maybe you might have to get therapy. Seriously, you might have to get a competent therapist and just be straight up with them and listen to whatever they tell you. Because it's hard to find somebody going to tell you. Because a lot of times when you have like a close family member or someone who's in a romantic relationship with you, they only telling you either A, they're going to tell you just about your mask and they're going to see it in a good way, or they're not going to be as honest with you because they do love you, so they're not going to be as forthcoming as they need to be. Or they're going to think whatever is about you that probably need to be changed is totally normal because maybe that's all they've ever seen. That's the thing. But if you can find that one person or a therapist or somebody who's just blunt, go for it. But remember, that's the first thing. However you do it, you got to find out what you are. You got to find out what's there. And you got to remove it layer by layer. And here's a good general way to know if it's good for you. Ask yourself if you're able to do the things you want to do and what's keeping you from doing it. Think about it. Like if you got I don't know, say you want to start a business, but you feel like some fear or anxiety. You need to look at why is that anxiety there? Had you done that business before? You don't know if you're going to succeed or fail. But then maybe in your past you did something that didn't work. Or it could go back to somebody saying like one little line to you. Like there's people, they messed up just because one person said an out of the way comment. Like I've met plenty of women who felt like they were ugly. All because somebody as a child told them they were ugly. That's a very key thing. So, you got to do what you got to do. But however you find out, layer by layer, you got to remove it. And it's work. It's real spiritual work. And you got to face it. And you got to ask, and that's the reality. If you don't face it, it can prevent you from really getting to where you want to get. And like I said, I always say, shoot, I've been through it. I had to face some stuff. And in fact, I had to have a couple people tell me straight up. I remember I had one woman tell me, very wise, but she was one of those blunt types. She said, Ron, you holding yourself back. And I had to look at everything and say, yeah, you're right, I am. And as soon as I stopped doing that, boom. So anyway, you got to remove those dysfunctional layers. And if y'all want an idea how to do it, check out some other stuff. because this is something I kind of touch on one way or the other, like frequently. So anyway, thank you for listening, man. We're gonna get a little bit deeper into this tomorrow. So, peace and blessings. Keep rising and transforming.